talking a bit about how to choose the paint for your guitar paint job. Let me first say it's obviously going to depend on the guitar. So if you're working on an acoustic guitar, you're probably going to want to ignore most of what I'm about to say, because this is mostly for electrics, particularly solid bodies. Acoustics have a lot less a lot fewer factors rather, that go into what makes their voice. So you have to be really careful about how you finish those. A lot of people would finish acoustic guitars with shellac or lacquer, stuff like that. I'll talk about that a little bit, but mostly this is going to be the kind of stuff that you would use to finish a solid body electric guitar. So I'm not a luthier, but I've done quite a bit of research on this stuff. Obviously, if you're going to be refinishing your own guitar, I recommend you do some research as well, but this should hopefully save you some time. So there are a few different finishes that you can work with, quite a few different finishes actually. I'm going to start with primers, in case you need those, and then work up to the top coat. And in some cases you're just going to use the top coat and right over wood. A lot of people do that when they like having a grain coming through their whatever it happens to be, their clear coat. But to start with, let's talk about primers a little bit. 3 different standard types of primers that you would use on a guitar. First of all, a 1K, something simple, straight out of a can, this kind of thing. If you don't need to do a lot of filling in, something like this works fine. Then they have a 2K version of this, which means 2 parts. I think there's a spray can 2K made by Carmax. That works really well if you need to fill in a little bit more porosity. Obviously you should be using a grain filler or something like that on your guitar if you've got an open grain. But if you don't and you just need to fill in a little bit of a porous surface or a few very small nicks in the surface, you can probably get away with the 2K. And then there's also the 2-part catalyzed primer that comes in gallons and stuff like that you can spray out of a gun. You use a gun with a bigger nozzle for that, and that is probably the best out of 3. It has the most ability to fill. It'll lay out the smoothest. They're all sandable, or for the most part they are. You should double check that before you put one on, and that way if you need to fill something in, you can sand after and make sure that it's nice and smooth. So next, well, whether you're using a primer or not, in a lot of cases you're going to want to apply a color. So we have quite a few different options for colors. You have lacquers. You can apply colors in lacquers. I've got a couple of lacquers here. 2 kinds of lacquers. There's nitrocellulose, well there's probably more than 2 kinds, but 2 kinds that you should really know about for guitars. Nitrocellulose lacquer and acrylic lacquer. The thing about lacquer paints, you put on your color coats and you put on your top coats or whatever, they will meld together and they'll build all, no matter how many coats you put on, they should all build into one layer. Whereas with, for example, a polyurethane, which I'm going to talk about, that builds in layers, one on top of the other. So we've got our lacquer colors. Then we have, for example, enamel colors or rattle cans. You can buy enamel obviously in different formats. Our rattle cans, the thing about enamels is they're going to seal the wood pretty much entirely. It's not going to age well, it's not going to breathe. And in a lot of cases on a solid body guitar that's probably not an issue. But it can be, and obviously you're not going to get the same durability or quite as nice a finish out of a rattle can. So I don't recommend that. But you have a few different options for that kind of thing. There's like the graffiti paint and stuff like that that you can use. Not a great idea, but if you're looking for a cheap finish, you don't have the infrastructure to spray, or you don't like doing rub-on finishes, then that's always an option. So we also have our Waterborne Acrylics here. I've got Auto Air and Wicked. Those are kind of the 2 brands that I use the most. I like them. The thing about those is they have to be top coated in a catalyzed urethane clear coat. So let's just talk about, you can also obviously use, for example, I've got House of Color here, urethane paint, which you would also top coat with a catalyzed urethane clear coat. So let's talk for a minute about the differences between lacquers and polyurethane, all right? Because that's kind of a common source of contention within the guitar painting, I don't want to say industry, but you know what I mean. So lacquers, a lot of people would say that they breathe more, they definitely age more, they will yellow. They're good for wood. You put them on nice and thin, typically, and they'll allow the wood to, like I said, breathe a little bit more, and you might be able to get a little bit more resonance out of them. So some people say that they sound better. They are what was used a long time ago, back in the 50s and 60s. I consider that to be a long time ago, sorry. That's kind of what was popular back then, and a lot of the purists still believe that that's the best way to go. The thing is, it's not as durable. Like I said, it'll yellow, so if you like a relic look, then that's great. If you don't, that might not be the greatest choice for you. Obviously, I said it's not as durable, that it's a lot easier to damage. If you bump your guitar against something with a polyurethane coating on it, it's not going to be a big deal typically. If you do it with lacquer on there, you're probably going to have some damage. Also, if it gets warm, it tends to get sticky, stuff like that with the lacquers. But it does kind of, it's got a very vintage feel to it. It does kind of allow your wood to breathe more. So if you're using, for example, a semi-hollow body, you might be able to tell a difference in the tone. There are a lot of factors that contribute to tone though. Your strings, your wiring, how tight your neck is on there, everything pretty much. Even humidity. So most people agree that the coating that you have on your guitar isn't going to make a whole lot of difference, especially if you don't put it on too thick. Now, these paints, the polyurethanes, this is what they use on cars. So this is a clear, hard finish. It'll be typically pretty glossy. You can get it in low gloss, obviously, but generally speaking, people like to use a high gloss finish for this type of thing. This would be my first choice in painting a guitar. I like to do it kind of the same way that they paint a car. You can put this over stains and stuff like that if you're looking for a transparent finish. Typically I use the acrylics. I don't go with the transparent finishes. I don't let the wood grain show through on my stuff. I just paint it with the acrylic and then put on the urethane as a top coat. So, like I said, I'm not a luthier. If you're looking for a transparent finish, this is just going to give you some ideas of what to do, but this is my choice when I'm doing an opaque finish. We also have acrylic top coats. This is going to be obviously less durable than the polyurethane. It's not catalyzed. You can get catalyzed lacquers as well that are more durable than the standard nitrocellulose and acrylic lacquers, but they're still probably not as durable as your urethane finish, and they would definitely be more durable than this acrylic. For example, this is Minwax, the polyacrylic top coat. That's designed more for interior stuff like tables, and not even the top of a table. More so just like, you know, furniture that you're not too worried about. It's still durable, but it's not as durable, so I don't recommend using that.